For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore. Welcome back to another reading vlog. Thank you for being here. I have a little pile of books over here that are new to my collection that I got in numerous ways, so we will discuss those. I am also currently reading 2 books. I am still reading The Years by Virginia Woolf. I am somehow flying through but also finding quite difficult to comprehend, which I think is like reading Virginia Woolf in general. And I started listening to Tower of Thorns by Juliet Marillier, and it's been a while since I read book number 1 in the series, but right from the start I was back in this world. I was back with the characters. I don't know how Juliet Marillier does that, but I am loving it once again. I'm listening to the audiobook. I really enjoy the audiobooks because all the characters have their own narration. This is a magical, mythical world that is incredibly character based. Finally started reading book 2. Dreamer's Pool was one of my favorite books of the year from 2022. Okay, the first book I have here I got through my very generous and lovely friend's book. She works at a bookstore and someone returned this book because it was damaged, so she asked me if I wanted it for a major discount, and I said yes I do, because I collect these editions, and that is The Fall of Numenor by J.R. Tolkien. As you can see, it has a little rip, but I don't care. This is how I'm going to put it on my shelves, and it still has the beautiful illustrations, which are the reason that I collect these books. I now have the whole Lord of the Rings series, and I have the Hobbit. I would like to also get, I think, Beren and Luthien in this edition. I asked Lucy to help me decide in which order I should read these books. I think this will be a later one because I think it is it like set up as a history of Middle-earth. I think this is set close to the time frame of the Rings of Power series. Lucy, scream at me if I'm wrong. Oh, you cannot see it from here, but I'll show you. I have made a little talking shelf, which this one will now proudly join. Thank you so much for your generosity and for thinking of me, Puck. Makes me really happy. I also got approached by a publisher and they asked if I wanted this edition, and because it perfectly matches one of my 2023 reading goals, I said yes, I would love to. I usually don't accept review copies, that sounds a bit pretentious, but just because I read so few contemporary books, I feel like if I accept them, then it would be very hard for me to read them soon, so that is often why I just rather not. These are translated short stories from the Danish author Tove Ditlevsen. I know that she wrote about her childhood and that is incredibly popular. I think a lot of people read those. I don't remember the title, but I'll leave it here. And one of my goals was to read from Scandinavia this year, so I now have a book for Denmark, which thank you so much to the publisher for sending this to me, and you will see this come up pretty soon, I think, in a TBR Board video. One of you guys very kindly sent me a book, and that is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Austen. I saw quotes from this book on Instagram and I put it on my wishlist right away. I know that a lot of people have already read and loved this, but I was never really sure if it would be for me. But then I saw that quote and I was like, okay, I need to read this. So one of you very kindly sent me the hardcover of this one. Thank you so much, Rowan. This is incredibly kind of you. I cannot wait to read it, and I love this edition. Oh, look at this! The hardcover has a little ship in the corner. Can you see it? That is so cute. This book has gotten a lot of praise and I'm sure that I will love it. And finally, from another author I've not read one before. This is a book my dad picked up for me, and that is Year of the Monkey by Patti Smith. I only know Patti Smith as a musician, but I think she wrote quite a lot of books. I think this is non-fiction where they write about their travels. I'm just going to experience this. I've heard a lot of people give Patti Smith's writing such high praise. This was not one that was necessarily on my TBR, but I kind of love being put outside of my comfort zone and just going with it. This week I have been doing a lot because I've been feeling a little bit anxious, so I just decided to do creative things. Sometimes I need to do something creative and it can be hard to decide what that could be. That is why I have so many different hobbies, so that I have always somewhere to go to if I feel like I need to be creative or need to create. Like, it's not necessarily the same thing. So I decided to paint some things downstairs. I have bought the paint a while ago, which is like a mustard yellow, but I think a little bit darker, a little bit more towards orange. I love yellow. Especially a little bit of a darker yellow. So I painted like the bottom half of the hallway, and I painted the little bathroom, toilet room downstairs as well. I had some brownish paint left and I mixed that with like 1/3 white paint so that I would get something that I would think would complement the yellow a lot. So I made a little arch, which I had seen people do on YouTube. I think there was like this trend of people doing that, so I thought I should do that too. That looks fun. And I really love it. I made a giant gallery wall as well. We went out into the city, and in our city there is this stationery store that I love so much, and they just have rows and rows of postcards, and you can like buy 10 for 9 euros. So I just picked 10 that I felt inspired by. Some animal paintings, which I always love, and I've been getting inspired like decor wise with Art Nouveau, so I got a lot of those as well. And I got a giant poster of Frida Kahlo, which last year I read a biography of her and I got so inspired by her art, as many people do. And I thought the poster has so many colors and it would complement the yellow really well. I feel that's kind of her style. So how should I call the theme? It is like Frida Kahlo meets Art Nouveau, but on a budget. It needs some work still. I want some like dark wooden shelves, I think, in the hallway, so that you have a place like to put your keys, to put a mail, things like that. But I feel like I have fed my soul the creativity it needed. Colors, art, it makes me so happy. And now that we have moved, when I want to do something creative, I can do something in the house. Even if I'm not super sure about the yellow in the hallway, I like it in the bathroom. I'm not so sure about the hallway, but I am sure that I don't want to repaint it, so I'm just going to go with it. But I think once I dress up the hallway a little bit more, that the yellow won't be so aggressive. It's not aggressive, but it can be a bit much. But I can also be a bit much, so it's fine. I mean, look at my background. stuff everywhere, but that is, I am not a minimalist, I'm a maximalist. Is that a word? Minimalism makes me very unhappy, so this is me. I do also feel like I need to paint that wall like very light bluish. I was thinking of kind of the blue green like color that the Pen Macmillans have. A little bit more complementary, so Boy got me a few samples and I do think I'll get them for you. I think I found the color. So I had about 10 colors to choose from and these were the 3 that I selected. And like my technique for finding a color these days, it's not foolproof. It's to get a lot of samples and then hold them up against the colors I already have in a room. So the pink here and the floor, which matters more than you'd think. And then I pick like usually 3 or 4 that go well with the other colors, grab some washi tape and put them on the wall for a few days. And I just look at it multiple times a day and then it kind of comes to you. You cannot really see the difference on camera very well. But this one is a little bit, I love it, but it's a little bit too blue for the room. I think because I already have like the dark pink. Oh my gosh. So it is like between these 2, which look exactly the same on camera, but believe me, they're not. This one is a little greener, this one is a little bluer. I think I'm going with this one. So this color will be on that wall. Not all the way through. I think I will leave like 1 stripe like this big white on the top and maybe do some molding, possibly. Plans. But first I need to find the energy and the creativity again of wanting to paint, because I just painted 2 days in a row. It's Tuesday today and this weekend I also have the readathon, the 24-hour readathon that I'm organizing. So I don't want to do too much this week and burn out of spoons. So I think I will wait a little while before I buy the paint and paint this. There's also another place in the house that I might also want to give this kind of blue. It will be a whole project. My dad said to us, when you're buying something for your house, you're not just buying something, you're buying a project. And that is so true. Because every time you buy some paint or a piece of furniture, you have to assemble it, you have to put it somewhere in your house, you have to put it on the wall. It's a lot of work, it's intimidating. But I'm trying to take it easy. And I am for about 50% succeeding at that. For now, I'm going to leave you here for a bit and I will check in with you when I've done some reading. This morning I had a meeting for a freelance job with a lot of people in a meeting, and it was intimidating but also a lot of fun, very inspiring, and I'm just so grateful to be doing some freelance editing again. That meant that the rest of the day I really didn't do much, just try to process all the information. I do want to do some reading tonight. It is now only 6 o'clock, so I've been updating my reading and I decided to do it a little bit different this year. I was filming my sets video and I was just not super happy with how I was tracking things. Then I saw Sarah use CAWPILE that is created by G from Bookrose and I thought I would give it a go, so I watched her videos and her system is just amazing. I'll show you. Okay, so as you can see, this is most of my January reading, but we're still on the 18th of January and I have unrealistic plans. But you can see that, for example, The Professor was the first book I read this year, which I deeply hope is not something that will decide the rest of my reading. Most of this is created by G, but she does give an option of you adding your own thing. So I've done that with a few, like month, January, the author Charlotte Bronte, and then before month I did reading with audiobook because I do that so often. Pages, genre, this. First read, rating, and then I added publication date because I read a few classics and I really love tracking from what time periods I read. Then country and translated something I added as well. Country and translated I both added because of course I do those challenges, which like great variation so far this year. Not really though. So I already put Tower of Thorns in here and the years as well. So I need to update those when I finished. But honestly, I love it. It also has a feature of primary stats. Like, I don't know how Excel works. This is like the Google version of Excel, but I am living for this. Hi, it is Sunday today and the readathon, the 20-hour readathon that I organized just ended. This is what I read. We'll chat about it. It was really nice. I did another set of reading sprints. I was joined by Petra from the channel Petra U, by Julia from the channel Shakespeare and Such, and by Sarah from Sarah the Dreamer, and we had 6 wonderful hours of reading together. We played some games, we did color wheel, and we just talked a lot about books, which was really nice. I will leave that reading sprint in the description down below if you want to watch it back, you want some company while reading. But I did have prompts for this readathon, so I'll show you like which books I read for what prompt. I think, did I talk to you about starting The Years by Virginia Woolf, because I decided to use this for one of the prompts and just finish it. I have almost finished it. I have how many pages left? I have 18 pages left, which I will read after dinner, but I'm going to count it for the prompt. A book I wanted to read in 2022. This was on one of last year's TBRs. So I finally read it and I think I'm a little bit let down by it. I saw a lot of similarities with the waves, but I just like the waves way more. Of course, writing is still beautiful, but I know Virginia Woolf isn't great when it comes to class and race, and especially when it comes to imperialism. Usually it is interwoven in the storylines and it's not that incredibly prevalent. But this book does also contain offensive language, which I really disliked, so That was very annoying. It's always a frustration with me that Virginia Woolf was progressive when it came to women's rights, when it came to LGBTQ plus rights, but not when it came to class and race, which is noticeable in her novels. And I think overall I didn't love or enjoy the characters as much as I did. I can see what she's doing with her novels because it's different than her earlier novels, and I do prefer her character-based novels. Yeah, so I gave this a 3.5 star. Honestly, kind of a letdown. I mean, it's still amazing layered writing by Virginia Woolf, but because of the things I mentioned earlier, definitely not my favorite. Then a pleasant surprise is Moominland in Midwinter. This is about a Moomin, which is a little creature who lives in Moominland, which is, I think, like Finland, Sweden kind of based. His entire family is having a hibernation, but he wakes up and he cannot go back to sleep, so he has to spend the winter with all these creatures that he encounters, and it's adorable. It is really lovely. I read this one for a prompt of a book that matches the 2023 reading goal, and I want to read more from Scandinavia and Tove. Jansson, I think she is Finnish, but she lived in Sweden, and this is translated from the Swedish. Another one was the color wheel prompt, and I got cyan, which is like such a specific color, but the closest I found was this book. Like, this is kind of cyan, maybe a little bit lighter, but I decided to just pick this one up, and I decided to read Lady Susan, which is one of the stories in this book. I gave it 4 stars. Lady Susan is fun, it is witty. It reminded me of The Stepmother in Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell, who is very self-centered and has this daughter that she is more jealous of than caring for. The letters are very witty, and it's kind of, when it comes to Jane Austen, I think it's most similar to Emma in writing style, and I had a great time partly listening to it, partly reading this. Like always, I am super sleepy after a 24-hour readathon, but it was nice to read so much. So right now it is dinner time. Boy and I are going to make some dinner, and then I think we'll just watch another movie tonight. I want to read the last 18 pages of the years as well. And then, I don't know, I haven't planned much for next week, but I'm sure I will fill it with a lot of unnecessary things. For now, I'm going to leave this vlog here. If you want to join a 24-hour readathon, I've decided to do them bi-monthly, so the next one will probably be in March. And I host reading sprints during these things, and then we can all read together. Thank you to the lovely people who joined me during the sprints. It was great to hang out with you. For now, I'm going to leave this vlog here, and I hope to see you in another video. Doei!